how much are we increasing the bond cap authority with this revenue bill?
Do you want to know all the bond caps added together or individually? Because we have the MPA, we have the different caps. All together, it comes to $102 billion.
102. And how much is that an increase over last year?
It was $1.9 billion last year. No, the 1.9.
Over last year.
An increase of 1.9 increase over last year.
Thank you. In the language in this bill, there's some authorization for the comptroller to transfer some money from some unencumbered balance to the community projects funds. Could you tell me how much that is and why we're doing that?
It's $38 million, and the language allows, if necessary, the transfer of funds into the community project fund. Oh, it's that one. The measure serves as a backstop to ensure the priority commitment with active contacts are met. This has to do with last year's programs, and we just want to make sure there's enough money to fulfill it.
So this is
important, and it's important that this financial plan action does not authorize any new spending from this account.
Thank you. That was my follow-up question. So it's providing dollars that were previously committed,
yeah.
But not new money. Thank you. The alternative fuel tax exemption in this is only for a 2-year period. I think the governor had a 5-year. Why are we going to 2 rather than 5 or making it permanent?
Well, because we want to make sure we can afford to do it. And as technology changes, we may want to go in a different direction. So it gives us another chance to look at it and see what we're doing.
But it is good now for another 2 years to those who are involved in
right, presently, yes.
In that area. A couple of questions related to the backup funds, often called rainy day or tax stabilization reserve funds. How much currently in the rainy day dollars?
$1 billion.
Do you have just rainy day in and of its?
The rainy day is 275.
275 million.
Tax stabilization is $1,031,000,000. Is it 1 billion?
31 million.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No. 1 billion. Yeah, 31 million. Yeah.
So there is authorization in this budget at the request of the director of the budget to transfer some more money into the rainy day fund. How much?
They expect to do about $100 million.
There is kind of a complicated formula, and I haven't been able to quite figure that out. So we're figuring that formula, when you go through everything, makes it about $100 million.
0.3%, which becomes 3% for tax stabilization. Rainy day, I'm sorry.
And does this affect, you mentioned tax stabilization, does it affect, does any of this wording impact increasing or impacting the tax stabilization fund?
No.
Does this bill raise taxes at all as we?
No.
So in this revenue bill, 2012, 2013 budget, no increase on the tax side.
None.
There is a mortgage insurance fund, and there is some money being taken out. I think authorization for $100 million. When it was done, I think this was done 3 or 4 years ago. It was designated specifically for some items. Is there any specific designation for how that $100 million would be spent?
All purposes of the general fund,
Wherever.
wherever.
Okay. Do we know in that mortgage fund how much there is in it? And
$1.3 billion.
$1.3 billion, and that is funded how? How do we get the money for that?
Mortgage recording tax is where it comes from.
And is that, if we've got $1.2 billion in it, is that, if that's growing, is that something, we use it for other purposes other than sweeping as well? Is there, any consideration of, do we need to continue at the same rate that we have? Is that one of the taxes we should look at? Maybe not continuing? Or?
Yes, it's one that we are going to look at. It tends to back up.
Do we have its main purpose? Do you know what those funds are used for? Is it loans or?
Oh. It's a backup for our bonding. As long as we've got that cash, they know they're always covered, and we do that for transportation also. We use it for that, so that they look at it and say, okay, they've got money, we can borrow, we can lend to them.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell.